It's amazing when just before the election, when I seriously thought Kamala Harris was going to win, but the disappointment still rankers me. Mike and I, the rational boomer, were talking about what we're going to talk about if she wins the election. Well, there'll be plenty to talk about. I mean, personally, I wanted to move on to sports and some of my nerd stuff, like anime and movies I like, and books I've read, and sports, being a Dodger fan, those things. I mean, get back to normal. Discuss policy. But we know what the reality is. And it never ceases to amaze me of all the amount of shit that comes through that you really do miss. Because there's so much of it. And I'm not talking on the federal level. I'm talking on the state level. Okay? This came across my FYP and also I looked it up. The state of South Carolina had put in one bill that it was preventing a lot of women from getting their medical treatment again, i.e., Texas. There's a video of a woman with an atopical pregnancy who doctors won't touch because they're afraid that since the South Carolina legislature had put in a bill to make all abortion and those who do abortions considered a murder punishable by death, they don't want to touch her. So she had to go out of state. Hopefully she got out of state for the treatment she needed to save her life. But on top of that, I don't know, years ago when the Marvel movie started to come out, at the end of the first Avengers movie, the first time we all got to see Thanos, um, and he was telling him about the failure and what happened in New York. He says the minion says a line that to mess with humanity is to court death. I came to the conclusion that in the last 10 years, actually for the last 40 years, to vote Republican is to court death. Because everything they do is counterproductive to people having a good life or surviving. So, in addition to that bill that they reintroduced into the legislature of South Carolina, making abortion murder punishable by death, they have now put in a bill that if a woman has a miscarriage, it will be investigated as a possible crime. If the investigator determines that an act by the woman, i.e., maybe driving too fast or biking or taking an airplane, blah, 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 might have caused the miscarriage, they will charge the mother with murder. I pause because my wife's first pregnancy ended in miscarriage. And all she did was come home in pain and we had to run to the hospital. There was no reason for it. It just happened. And these righteous, fake fucking Christians in South Carolina propose this because they don't think a woman is worth a goddamn thing other than being a breeding animal. Who the fuck proposes this? Who the fuck thinks that a woman is responsible for a miscarriage, that it's their fault? Shit happens. It's medical. But these righteous, disgusting human beings have come up with this to what? Get more power over women? To show their piety? Christ would hate you all. He would rebuke you. Then he would forgive you, but that's what Jesus does, but he still would rebuke you. I'm at the loss of words when I read that. As someone who watched his wife suffer through that, it just angers me to the point. I want to find who the author is, and so we can just tell them what do we think of them. If you do know, and you're in South Carolina, lay it into them. Because the idea of taking a woman at that point is miserable and feeling horrible. To face a police investigation for possible murder? For a miscarriage? It's insane. And I've been watching all these town halls with all these people now going after the Republican legislatures, the congressmen, trying to tell them to stop what's going on, the chaos, the hate, the craziness. And for much as I'm saying, hey, well, they finally got to the, figure it out. But the one thing that will always, that's in the back of my mind, you voted for them. You put them in office. You voted Republican. And you courted death.